Hey everyone, it's Esmond. Welcome to the Game Saver channel, and Crimson Vow is finally here, so I thought I'd do a really quick, really fast video on my picks for the top 3 unique commanders from Crimson Vow. So these are not the strongest, these are not the most popular. In fact, these are some of the more unpopular ones. But, these are ones that take a bit more thought and a lot more determination to make them work. So we're going to try our best, and the decks I'm building today are all aimed at a friendly, casual power level. They're going to be too powerful to compete with precons, but they will also not be able to compete with CEDH decks, competitive decks. It's right in between them, right in the middle. Full deck list will be in the links below. I'm just going to go through each of these decks really quickly, show you the key synergies and strategies. Alright, so I am starting with Uldric Bloodcursed. It seems like everyone has been going on and on about how unplayable he is. He has been called a golden toilet, he's been put in the D tier, and he just hasn't been popular over on Reddit, which is really important. And yeah, he doesn't seem to do much. He cares about keywords, which is an Uldric thing, and he potentially makes blood token artifacts. And the thing is that there's just no obvious synergies between these two abilities. But I do think that this is a very unique take on Boros, and something that is not immediately, obviously overpowered. To me, it kind of combines the traditional aggressive strategy of Boros with the newer artifact / graveyard shenanigans synergies that Boros has featured recently. So let's get into the deck. This is Uldric Cares About Everything Boros. Our commander is Uldric, and the main game plan of this is going to be an aggressive strategy using creatures with keywords. So ton of keywords here, things that give our creatures keywords, and we also prioritize creatures with ETB abilities. So for example, Knight and Loyal Warhound can both find lands. Then we have more keywords, things that give our creatures keywords, and we have Uldrics because this is an Uldric deck. More keywords, and it can also make us tokens with keywords. Avacyn for keywords and for flavor. Gearhulk has a good ETB ability, and you'll notice that all these top end here, they're really big artifacts with keywords and useful ETB abilities. And there's a reason why, because once we get a bunch of these keyword creatures on the board, and if we can't beat through for damage, then we cast Uldric and we get a bunch of blood tokens. Then we can start using those blood tokens to sculpt our hand, find key pieces, but also discard these big creatures, these big artifacts, and trade them in for something like a Goblin Welder, Trash for Treasure, Daretti, and basically cheat out these big artifacts into play using our blood tokens. Then we have more graveyard shenanigans like Emeria, War Singer, which also has keywords, Bishop of Rebirth, Sun Titan, Karmic Guide, Elspeth Conquers Death, which is also kind of removal. So a lot of graveyard shenanigans and utility and value using the blood tokens. And then we have another flicker kind of theme going on because Uldric's ability is an ETB ability. So if we flicker him, we get more blood tokens, and all these can do that. So really interesting synergies here are with Luca and Perforos. So Luca lets us bring a creature back from the graveyard just for 1 turn, and Perforos lets us basically sneak attack them in for 1 turn. But if we cheat them in this way and we manage to flicker them, then we get to keep the creature around forever. So I thought that was really interesting. And also, Perforos gives our creatures haste, which is a keyword. Then moving on, if we have a ton of artifacts, a ton of blood tokens, we can use them with Jirapur Ether Grid, doing damage to creatures or players. Hellkite Tyrant is a win con. If we have 20 more artifacts, we win the game. And finally, we have a whole bunch of utilities. So we have ramp, protection. We have ramp, removal, removal. Ornithopter is ramp and has a keyword. Then Deflecting Sword, Flawless Maneuver for protection, removal. And finally, you have our big things here. Meteor Golem is here because it's a big artifact with a good ETB ability. Elish Norn, well, has a keyword, but it's mainly there to just pump our creatures up and make our opponent's creatures smaller. And Emira's Call is just a good value utility flip land. So that's about it. The rest of the lands, nothing much. We have some card draw, we have some ways to give more keywords, we have Graveyard Hate, and yeah, more keywords here, more card draw. But that's basically the Uldric deck. I thought This is a pretty interesting build. You know, we do focus a lot on the keywords, but built into these keyword soup kind of things, we also have ways to grind with blood tokens, using them for value, and flickering to make more blood tokens, more ETB abilities, cheating stuff in. And I think it all kind of works together well, focusing on the more aggressive strategy, but also going into the long game, grinding very well. So that is the Uldric deck. If you liked it, please smash that like button, leave a comment down below, helps me so much. And I'm gonna move on to my second pick, which is Old Radstein. Radstein, this is the Golgari commander, and with just under 30 decks on EDH Rec, he is one of the most unpopular new legends from Crimson Vow. It's probably because all he does is, well, he mills one card on each of your turns, and from that one card, he creates one token from milling that one card. So yeah, it doesn't sound great, but at least, you know, there is some guaranteed value generation here. My question is, how can we maximize the value of this one lonely token? So let's get into the deck. It's called Old Radstein Top Deck Tokens, and you can see here he either creates an insect, a treasure, or a blood token. So my thinking was, what if we can control which token we are making every single turn by manipulating our top deck? So we have top deck shenanigans, Mirror's Gull, and all these cards basically help us to manipulate our top deck somehow. Treasure map also, you know, can scry one, and when it flips, it can make use of our treasures to draw a card. And yeah, we can cast stuff off our top deck. So all ways to manipulate our top deck, get value from our top deck. And Bola Citadel is interesting because its second ability, where we sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, will come in handy because we are a token deck. And these are the best token doublers: Parallel Lives, Doubling Season, and Primal Vigor. So instead of making one token, yes, we're gonna make two. And because every single turn we are putting cards into the graveyard, somehow we still want to get value from that, cast the cards in our graveyard, treat them as if they're in our hand. So things that bring it back to our hand, things that reanimate creatures from our graveyard. Excavator and Crucible of Worlds will let us play lands from the graveyard. Liliana can reanimate or create tokens, and Mending can just shuffle our whole graveyard back in to be reused. So all these really cool and interesting ways to get back cards from our graveyard. And finally, the main core of our deck, while we are doing all of that, we are also trying to build a board of token engines. So we have token makers, Field of the Dead, and we have token utility, so sacrificing things to draw cards, sacrificing things to gain life. And Nadia's Nightblade is interesting because whenever we sacrifice a token, you know, we drain our opponents. Attrition and Infernal Tribute can also sacrifice tokens to draw cards. Attrition needs to sacrifice a creature to destroy a creature. Idol of Oblivion will let us draw a card if we created a token that turn, which we will be creating every turn with Old Radstein out. Etika's Chariot lets us copy our tokens. Eradicator Valkyrie, a new one from Kaldheim. We can sacrifice a token creature and force our opponents to sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. And then we have some planeswalkers ourselves. Garruk Relentless makes tokens and also uses tokens. So it flips into Garruk the Veil Curse, where we can sacrifice a creature and tutor for a creature. Trading Post does a lot in this deck because we can sacrifice either the insect tokens or the treasure tokens or the blood tokens for value. Vraska is the same, we can sacrifice a permanent to gain life and draw a card. And yeah, more token makers. Liliana also makes tokens and helps us keep our opponent's board down. We have more token makers. Revel in Riches makes tokens and is also an additional win con. And Mazurek, whenever we sacrifice like a blood token or treasure token, puts a +1 counter on all our creatures. So that's the whole token generation part. And then we have a whole lot of utility. So we have ramp. Expedition map is in here because we are playing a whole bunch of useful lands, and because we can replay them from our graveyard, it's very good to find the lands that we need. So more ramp. We have removal, protection. Nissa is just good utility. Then we have removal and more ramp. So for the lands that we are playing in this deck, we are playing all the fetch lands that can fit into these colors. We have Dryad Arbor, so we can fetch up a creature if we need to block or sacrifice something. We have Sacrifice Outlets. We are running the Urborg and Cabal Coffers to make all our lands into swamps and add it for a ton of mana. We have card draw, we have Urza's Saga, which once we use it for its value, we can then play it again from the graveyard if we have something like Crucible of the Worlds out. Same for things like Cryptic Caves and all the fetch lands, so that's a really interesting interaction. And as for Urza's Saga itself, it can tutor up some useful things like Soul Ring if we need ramp, Expedition Map if we are looking for a different kind of land, and even our Sensei's Divining Top. And of course, the construct that it makes will get buffed up every single turn if we are making a treasure or a blood token, because they are artifacts as well. So that is my build for the old Radstein deck. I thought it was very interesting with the top deck manipulation, trying to control what kind of token we get so that we can maximize its value. For example, at the beginning of the game, if we need treasures to ramp, we can make sure we mill land cards. Or if we need a blocker, we can make sure we get an insect token. Or if we just want some value to find our answers, we can make a blood token. So yeah, that's it. It's gonna play out like a really typical grindy Golgari deck, but with probably much better card selection, especially since we're using both our top deck and our graveyard as extensions of our hand. So if you like that deck, once again, smash that like button. Please send it to the graveyard so that we can reuse it. And subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And finally, my third and final pick for the most unique commanders from Crimson Vow is mono white. It is Catilda Dawnheart Martyr. She actually reminds me a lot of one of my favorite commanders, which is Tuvasa the Sunlit. That deck is a combination of Voltron and Enchantress strategies, and I've played it before on the channel. Go check it out if you want to. And Catilda is actually one of the least popular, it's even more unpopular than old Radstein. She currently has less than 20 decks on EDH Rec. And Catilda reminds me a lot about Tuvasa because, well, for one, they both care about enchantments, and they both get bigger with the more enchantments you have on the board. However, Catilda is slightly different because she also cares about spirits, and of course she doesn't draw cards like Tuvasa. And of course she's mono white, so there are a few more restrictions, but restrictions breed creativity, so let's get creative. So this is the deck Catilda's Enchanting Spirits, and just like Tuvasa, Catilda gets bigger the more enchantments we have, but she also counts spirits. So our first main aim of the deck is to go tall, making Catilda as big as possible by going wide. So we're creating spirit tokens, more spirit tokens, more spirit tokens, and all these are also enchantments and spirits that make her bigger basically. So more tokens, more spirit tokens. Everything here makes, you know, tokens some way. Heliod makes enchantment tokens actually for 4 mana. So more tokens, more tokens. So we're going really wide with a lot of tokens, and all of these are, like I said, spirits and enchantments to pump her even more. Then we have some more Voltron things. Commander's Plate, Ethereal Armor, which is an enchantment. Helm of the Gods cares about enchantments. Paladin class, a really powerful enchantment in this deck. All That Glitters cares about enchantments. Honor of the Pure pumps our tokens and is an enchantment. And then we have some spirits as well that help out, and then we have some life gain. So because Catilda has lifelink, it will trigger Heliod, putting +1 counters on our creatures. Heraldic Banner is ramp as well as a pump effect. Mirror Entity is a changeling, so it is a spirit, and we can also pump our mana into it to pump up our whole board. Then we have Dental Cyst, which is another thing that cares about enchantments. Celestial Crusader, which is a lord. Some new cards as well, Drogskull Reinforcements, giving all our spirits melee. Kathar's Crusade, a classic pump effect enchantment. And Nykthos Paragon, one of the newer ones. Because we have some life gain synergies, this will trigger quite a lot, and we can put that many +1 counters on each creature we control. So if we have a whole board full of spirits, this will make them huge. Then, because we are going tall with Catilda, which is our main game plan, we have to use some protection, protect her from removal. So we're mostly using enchantments for this. I'll say Benevolent Blessing, Sajiri Shelter, which is a good utility way to do that. Then we have spirits as well that can help protect us. Swiftfoot Boots, Flawless Maneuver, Gift of Immortality, Guardian of Faith. So all this stuff helps to protect Catilda and generally just helps to protect our board. Then we have more utility, spirits and enchantments, utility with an I. So Urza's Saga, we have land tags, finance lands, some graveyard hit. So Voice of the Blessed is a really interesting new card because it combines our life gain synergies, our +1 counter synergies, and if it has 10 or more +1 counters on it, it becomes indestructible. So it's a great Voltron target as well. Then we have Bygone Bishop for some value. Faith-Bound Judge, also a new one that flips into an enchantment and can make our opponent just lose the game basically. We have some removal, we have a enchantment board wipe, a spirit removal, Smothering Tithe, Windborn Muse, and a spirit to stop people from attacking us. Then we have more utility that are not spirits or enchantments. We have ramp, card draw, removal, ramp, removal, board wipe, and Emira's Call once again. So that's basically the deck. The lands are pretty straightforward. We have ways to make our stuff unblockable. We have some recursion here. We have graveyard hit and card draw. Haste. Nykthos is great here because it's a mono white deck. And yeah, that's basically it. This is probably the most straightforward deck out of all three. But I thought it was interesting because we can either go tall with Catilda, or if Catilda gets removed, we can go really wide with our whole board of spirit tokens. And if we cast Catilda from the graveyard, she becomes Catilda's Rising Dawn to essentially make one of our spirits into a big creature and go Voltron once again. And the fact that she has flying and lifelink is a pretty potent combination to keep us alive while attacking for damage. Alright, so if you enjoyed that deck, please smash that like button, destroy it, send it to the heavens with the spirits, and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And those are basically my 3 picks for the most unique commanders from Crimson Vow. Commanders that I think have maybe been overlooked or underrated. And if you're looking for something unique, something different, I feel like these are some ways you could build these commanders. And yeah, they might not be the strongest or the most powerful, but I feel like they do things that, you know, no other commander kind of does in the same way, especially with these builds. So leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought of these builds, and you know, did I miss out any key cards that I should have put in these decks? Let me know. I love reading your comments and replying to them. And that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. See you all next time. Bye.